This title is presented to you by soundlibra.com. For more audiobooks like this, click the link in the description or visit our website at soundlibra.com.
One of the most practical philosophies ever conceived, Stoicism.
I'm really excited to get into this. Just a quick heads up before we jump in, though. While we're discussing mental well-being and personal growth, we aren't healthcare professionals, so please don't treat this as medical advice and always consult a professional for your specific needs.
That's a great point, Alex. Now let's get started. We'll introduce Stoicism's timeless appeal and why, after thousands of years, its lessons are more relevant than ever.
That's right, Lisa. When we think of ancient philosophy, we might picture dusty texts and abstract ideas. But Stoicism, born in ancient Greece and refined in Rome, is remarkably down to earth. It's less about grand theories and more about a practical guide to living a good, fulfilling life, even when things get tough.
So, for listeners who might not be familiar, what exactly is Stoicism at its heart? What's its core promise?
At its core, Stoicism is about cultivating inner peace and resilience. It teaches us how to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our judgments, our actions, and how to accept what we cannot. It's about developing virtue, living in accordance with nature, and finding contentment, regardless of external circumstances. Think of it as a training program for your mind.
A training program for the mind. I like that, because so many of us feel tossed around by life, by stress, by things completely out of our control. So, this is a philosophy that offers real-world solutions?
Absolutely. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, weren't just armchair philosophers. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor juggling immense responsibility. Seneca was a statesman and advisor dealing with political intrigue. And Epictetus was a former slave who became a renowned teacher. They faced pressures we can only imagine, and they developed Stoicism as a tool to not just endure, but to thrive.
That's a powerful point. They were living it, not just talking about it. And you mentioned the key figures. What makes their perspectives particularly valuable for us today?
Each of them offers a unique lens. Marcus Aurelius, in his personal writings we call meditations, gives us a raw, honest look at his daily struggle to live by Stoic principles. It's like peering into the mind of a leader trying to do the right thing, day in and day out. He reminds us of our mortality and our place in the grand scheme of things, which can be incredibly grounding.
So, meditations is like a personal journal of Stoic practice. What about Seneca?
Seneca, on the other hand, is known for his essays and letters. He often focused on dealing with adversity. He believed that hardship isn't something to be feared, but an opportunity to practice virtue and build strength. He'd say things like, "He who has anticipated the storm will have less to fear. All things are more readily borne by a prepared mind." His wisdom is incredibly comforting when we're facing difficult times, showing us how to turn obstacles into stepping stones.
That's a great way to think about challenges, opportunities to build resilience. And Epictetus?
Epictetus, who was himself born into slavery, offers perhaps the most direct path to freedom. His teachings, collected by his student Arian in the Enchiridion, or Handbook, are incredibly focused on what he called the dichotomy of control. We'll explore this in depth eventually, but the essence is understanding what is within our power and what is not. Epictetus teaches that true freedom comes from recognizing this boundary and focusing all our energy on what we can influence.
The dichotomy of control. That sounds like a foundational concept. So, if Stoicism is about virtue and focusing on what we can control, what are some of the fundamental ideas we'll be exploring?
We'll start by really unpacking that dichotomy of control. Then we'll explore the Stoic idea that happiness comes from cultivating inner virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, rather than external things like wealth or fame. We'll look at how to manage our emotions, not by suppressing them, but by understanding their root in our judgments.
And we'll hear directly from these great thinkers, right? Tapping into their original writings.
Absolutely. We'll draw heavily from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, Seneca's Letters and Essays, and Epictetus's Handbook. We'll see how their ancient advice translates directly to modern situations, how to handle difficult people, how to deal with stress at work, how to face our fears, and even how to accept our fate, what they call the more fatty or love of fate.
It sounds like a truly practical roadmap for a calmer, more meaningful life. Why do you think Stoicism has had such a resurgence of interest in recent years?
I think it's because our modern world is incredibly complex and often overwhelming. We have constant connectivity, endless choices, and a relentless pace. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote. It's a philosophy that equips us with the mental tools to navigate this chaos with equanimity. It's appealing because it promises practical tools for real-world problems.
So, at its heart, Stoicism is about building a robust inner life so we can better face the outer world.
Precisely. It's not about being emotionless, but about understanding and directing our emotions wisely. It's about cultivating a life of purpose, integrity, and tranquility. It's a philosophy that invites us to become the best version of ourselves.
And that's what we'll be exploring over the coming episodes. This first episode is our introduction to Stoicism's enduring wisdom. We've set the stage by introducing the philosophy and its key figures, highlighting its practical appeal for modern life.
Exactly. We've learned that Stoicism is a practical philosophy for building inner peace and resilience, focusing on what we control and cultivating virtue. We've met Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, whose insights offer timeless guidance.
And so, to recap, Stoicism offers us a way to live a good life by training our minds, managing our reactions, and focusing on our character, rather than fleeting external circumstances.
That's it for our introduction to the dawn of wisdom. Next episode, we'll delve into the cornerstone of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. Welcome back. Last time we explored the enduring appeal of Stoic philosophy. Now, we're diving into one of Epictetus's most profound and practical insights, the dichotomy of control.
That's right, Alex. The dichotomy of control. It sounds a bit academic, but at its heart, it's incredibly simple, yet revolutionary. It's all about understanding what's truly ours to manage and what's simply happening around us.
Exactly. Epictetus, a former slave who became a renowned Stoic teacher, emphasized this distinction above all else. He argued that the key to a tranquil and fulfilling life lies in recognizing that some things are within our power and some things are not.
So, what exactly falls into the within our power category? I imagine it's not our physical strength or our bank account.
You're absolutely right. What is within our power are our judgments, our desires, our aversions, and our intentions. In simpler terms, it's our thoughts, our values, our reactions, and our choices. It's our inner world.
Our inner world. So, how we perceive things rather than the things themselves?
Precisely. It's about our opinions, our beliefs, and how we interpret events. For example, if someone criticizes you, the criticism itself is external. It's not something you can directly control, but how you choose to react to that criticism, whether you get angry, feel hurt, or calmly consider it, that is entirely within your power. Your judgment about the criticism is yours.
That makes a lot of sense. It shifts the focus from trying to change the outside world to mastering our internal response to it.
And that's where the liberation comes in. When we recognize that our true power lies in our own minds, we stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable. Think about traffic jams, for instance. You can't force the cars to move faster. However, you can choose how you feel about being stuck. You can choose to listen to a podcast, practice mindfulness, or simply accept the situation without frustration.
So, the not within our power category must be everything else, right? The external stuff.
Exactly. This includes external events like the weather, the economy, or natural disasters. It also includes the actions, opinions, and fortunes of other people. You cannot control what your boss decides, what your friend says, or even the health of your own body perfectly.
It's almost freeing to accept that, isn't it? To stop trying to steer ships that aren't ours to steer.
It truly is. And the frustration and anxiety we often experience stem from trying to control these external things. We get angry when things don't go our way. We worry about what others think. We fret about events beyond our influence. The Stoics would say this is like trying to hold water in a sieve.
A sieve. That's a great analogy. So, the practical takeaway here is to constantly ask ourselves, is this within my control?
That's the million-dollar question, Lisa. Before reacting to a situation, pause and ask, is this about my judgment, my desire, or my aversion? Or is this about something external? If it's external, acknowledge it, accept it, and then direct your energy back to your own internal responses.
This sounds like a powerful tool for managing expectations and building resilience. If I'm expecting an outcome that depends entirely on someone else, I'm setting myself up for disappointment. But if I focus on doing my best, on my intentions and my effort, then the outcome is less critical.
Exactly. You are responsible for your own actions and your own intentions, but not for the results of those actions when they're influenced by countless external factors. This doesn't mean apathy. It means focusing your energy wisely. You still act, you still try, but you don't attach your peace of mind to outcomes you can't guarantee.
And this applies to relationships too, doesn't it? We can't control how other people feel or behave, but we can control our own kindness, our own honesty, and our own reactions to their behavior.
Absolutely. When dealing with difficult people, for instance, instead of getting upset by their actions, we can remind ourselves that their behavior is outside our control. Our power lies in how we choose to respond to them. Do we react with anger or with understanding and a firm but fair boundary?
This concept of the dichotomy of control really seems to be the bedrock of Stoicism. It's about aligning ourselves with the natural order of things, recognizing what we can influence and what we must accept.
It is indeed. By consistently practicing this discernment, we begin to free ourselves from the anxieties, frustrations, and disappointments that arise from clinging to what we cannot have or change. We learn to find contentment not in external circumstances, but in our own virtuous character and our wise choices.
So, to recap for our listeners, the dichotomy of control is about understanding that what's truly yours is your judgments, desires, and aversions, your inner world. Everything else, external events, other people's actions, is beyond your direct control. By focusing your energy on what you can control, you pave the way for a more peaceful and fulfilling life.
A perfect summary, Lisa. This fundamental principle guides us towards a more resilient and tranquil existence. Next episode, we'll delve deeper into the Stoic concept of virtue, exploring why the Stoics considered it the only true good and how it serves as our internal compass. Welcome back. Last time we covered the dichotomy of control. Now, let's explore why virtue is the only true good and how cultivating it acts as our inner compass.
That's right, Alex. Last time, We learn to distinguish between what's up to us and what isn't. Now, we're going to discover that even among the things that are up to us, there's one supreme category that holds all the real value. It's a fascinating shift in perspective, moving from seeking happiness in external things to finding it in our character.
Exactly. So for the Stoics, the ultimate good, the only thing inherently valuable, is virtue. This might sound a bit abstract, so let's break it down. What does virtue actually mean in the Stoic sense? It's not just about being a good person in a general way. It refers to excellence of character, a deep-seated moral and intellectual quality. The four cardinal virtues, which really form the bedrock of Stoic ethics, are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.
Wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Those are big concepts. Can you paint a picture of what each of those looks like as a Stoic practice?
Absolutely. Let's start with wisdom. For a Stoic, wisdom isn't just about book smarts. It's about understanding the true nature of things, understanding what is good, bad, and indifferent. It's about making sound judgments, about discerning what is truly valuable. Think of it as the ability to see clearly without the fog of our desires or fears distorting our view. A wise person knows what's truly worth pursuing and what isn't.
So, it's about applied knowledge, then? Not just knowing facts, but knowing how to live well?
Precisely. Applied knowledge. Then we have justice. This is about fairness, treating others with respect and kindness, and acting in accordance with our social nature. We are all part of a larger community, and justice means playing our role fairly, contributing to the common good, and never harming others unnecessarily. It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone, even those we disagree with.
That's a powerful reminder, especially in today's world. And courage? It seems like that's about facing challenges.
It is, but it's a specific kind of courage. Stoic courage isn't recklessness. It's the strength to face adversity, to stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult or unpopular. It's about enduring pain, hardship, and fear with resolve, not because you're fearless, but because you've prioritized what is right over your comfort or safety. It's the courage to act virtuously even when the stakes are high.
And temperance? That one often makes me think of moderation.
You're on the right track. Temperance is about self-control, moderation, and discipline. It's about managing our desires and appetites so they don't control us. It's about finding a healthy balance in all things, whether it's food, drink, pleasure, or even our ambitions. It's the ability to say no to things that might feel good in the moment, but would ultimately be detrimental to our character or well-being.
So, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These four virtues are the only good according to the Stoics. This means things like wealth, health, reputation, pleasure. These are considered indifference. That sounds a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It can be at first blush. The Stoics didn't say these things were bad or that we shouldn't pursue them. They acknowledged that some indifferents are preferred, like good health over sickness. But they emphatically stated that these external things do not contribute to our true happiness or our moral worth. Our well-being, our true eudaimonia, which is often translated as flourishing or living well, comes solely from the quality of our character, from living virtuously.
So, imagine someone who is incredibly wealthy and healthy, but is also cruel, unjust, and cowardly. According to Stoicism, that person isn't truly living a good life, despite all their external advantages.
Exactly. And conversely, someone who has very little in terms of external goods, maybe they face hardship, poverty, or ill health, but they maintain their integrity, act justly, show courage, and practice temperance. That person, in the Stoic view, is living a life of true value. Their inner character is sound, and that's where the real good resides. It's like building your house on solid rock versus on sand. The weather might affect the house, but the foundation holds firm.
That analogy is incredibly helpful. It means our happiness isn't dependent on winning the lottery or achieving fame. It's dependent on the kind of person we choose to be, moment by moment.
That's the absolute core of it. This realization is incredibly liberating. It frees us from the endless pursuit of external validation and fleeting pleasures. It tells us that we already possess the tools for a well-lived life within ourselves. We just need to cultivate them. This is why virtue is described as the Stoic compass. It's what guides us, no matter the external storms we might face.
So, to bring it back to the dichotomy of control, the things that are truly up to us, our judgments, our desires, our intentions, our actions, these are the very things that allow us to practice and develop virtue. It all ties together.
It does. And it makes the practice of Stoicism a lifelong journey of self-improvement, focused on refining our character. It's about asking ourselves, am I acting with wisdom? Am I treating others justly? Am I demonstrating courage in facing this? Am I exercising temperance in my desires? These questions become our daily guide.
So, what we've learned today is that for the Stoics, virtue, the excellence of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance is the sole good. External things like wealth or health are indifferent. Our true flourishing comes from cultivating a virtuous character, which acts as our unshakable inner compass, guiding us regardless of external circumstances.
Perfectly summarized, Lisa. This focus on virtue provides a robust internal foundation. Next episode, we'll explore how the Stoics teach us to manage our emotions, to tame the inner storms that can arise even when we're striving for virtue. Happy learning! Welcome back to Think Like a Stoic. Last time, we explored the idea that virtue is the only true good. Today, we're discussing something equally fundamental, Stoic emotional regulation.
Dealing with our emotions is a big one, Alex. It feels like sometimes our emotions just take over, right? We react without thinking.
Exactly, Lisa. And that's precisely where Stoicism offers incredible tools. The ancient Stoics understood that while we can't always control what happens to us, we absolutely can control how we respond to it. This episode is all about mastering that response, particularly when it comes to difficult emotions like anger, fear, and sadness.
So, it's not about not feeling emotions, but about not letting them control us. Is that right?
Precisely. The Stoics weren't emotionless robots. They recognized emotions as natural, but they also understood that many of our most challenging emotions stem not from external events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. This is a cornerstone of Stoic emotional regulation, understanding the power of our perceptions.
Our judgments, that's from the dichotomy of control we talked about earlier, isn't it? What's in our control and what's not?
You got it. Remember, we can't control external events, but we can control our thoughts and judgments about them. So, when something upsetting happens, it's not the event itself that causes our distress, but our interpretation of it. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, the event is the car swerving. Your immediate feeling of anger, however, comes from your judgment that this person is intentionally disrespecting you, or that it's a terrible injustice.
Ah, I see. So, instead of just reacting with immediate fury, the Stoic approach would be to pause and examine that judgment.
Exactly. To ask yourself, is this interpretation absolutely true? Is there another way to look at this? Perhaps the other driver is rushing to the hospital, or maybe they just made an honest mistake. By questioning our initial, often negative, judgments, we can begin to defuse the emotional charge.
That makes so much sense. It's like that classic saying, the stick has two ends. We get to choose which end we're holding.
A wonderful analogy, Lisa. And another key Stoic technique for emotional regulation is to identify the root of the emotion. Many of our negative emotions are rooted in irrational beliefs or unrealistic expectations. We expect things to be a certain way, and when they aren't, we become upset.
So, if I'm feeling anxious about a presentation, the root might be a belief that I must be perfect or that everyone will judge me harshly.
Precisely. The Stoics would encourage you to challenge those beliefs. Is it really true that you must be perfect? Is flawless performance a realistic expectation? And even if some people judge you, does that truly diminish your worth, especially if you've prepared diligently and acted virtuously? Remember, virtue is the only good.
Right? Virtue. So, even if the presentation doesn't go perfectly, if I've acted with integrity, preparedness, and followed my own ethical compass, then I've succeeded in a Stoic sense.
You've hit the nail on the head. This practice of examining our judgments and beliefs is how we learn to detach from negative emotions. It's not about suppressing them, but about understanding their origin and realizing they often lack a solid foundation in reality. Think of it like a fire alarm going off. You don't just panic, you assess. Is there actually a fire, or is it a faulty sensor? You critically examine the situation.
That's a powerful way to put it. It gives us agency. Instead of being swept away by a wave of anger or fear, we can learn to steer the ship.
And the Stoics also used a technique called premeditation of evils, or premeditatio malorum. This sounds grim, but it's incredibly practical. It involves intentionally contemplating potential future difficulties and misfortunes, not to dwell on them negatively, but to mentally prepare for them.
So, you imagine things going wrong, like losing your job or a loved one getting sick, not to feel depressed, but to reduce the shock if they actually happen?
Exactly. By mentally rehearsing how you would cope with these challenges with Stoic principles, focusing on what you can control, reminding yourself of your inner resilience and virtues, you significantly lessen their power over you should they occur. It's like having a fire drill for life's inevitable setbacks.
That's brilliant. It sounds counterintuitive, but it builds a kind of emotional armor. You're not surprised or overwhelmed when hardship strikes.
Precisely. And this leads to what the Stoics called apatheia. Now, this doesn't mean being apathetic or uncaring. In Stoicism, apatheia signifies a state of being free from disturbing passions and unregulated emotions. It's clarity, equanimity, and a profound sense of inner peace, achieved not by avoiding life, but by engaging with it wisely.
So, to recap, Stoic emotional regulation is about understanding that our emotions often stem from our judgments and beliefs, not just external events. We learn to examine these judgments, challenge irrational beliefs, and even mentally prepare for difficulties. The goal is apatheia, a state of inner peace and freedom from disturbing passions.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's a continuous practice, not a one-time fix. It requires diligence, self-awareness, and a commitment to living according to reason and virtue. By consistently applying these techniques, we can indeed tame our inner storms and live more calmly and purposefully.
It really highlights how the Stoics offered not just abstract ideas, but practical, actionable strategies for a better life, even thousands of years ago.
Absolutely. Next episode, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher king's diary. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the powerful tools of Stoic emotional regulation.
That's right, Alex. We learned how to distinguish between what we can control and what we can't, a cornerstone of Stoic practice. It's all about mastering our inner world, even when the outer world is chaotic.
And today, we're exploring something truly special, the personal thoughts of one of history's most remarkable figures. We're going to explore the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher king's private diary.
Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. It's fascinating to think that this incredibly powerful man also wrestled with profound philosophical questions and kept a private journal of his self-reflection.
Exactly. And that's what makes meditations so accessible and so profound. It wasn't written for publication. It was his personal guide, his way of reminding himself of Stoic principles as he navigated the immense pressures of leadership, war, and plague. Imagine having that kind of responsibility and still making time to work on your inner character.
He really was the ultimate test subject for Stoicism, wasn't he? If these principles could guide an emperor, they can certainly help us in our everyday lives. What are some of the core themes we find in his meditations?
A big one is his emphasis on self-discipline and duty. Aurelius constantly reminds himself to act with justice, to be temperate, and to be courageous, regardless of the circumstances. He believed our actions define us, not our status or our external achievements.
So, it's about living according to your principles, even when it's difficult. He wasn't just talking about grand gestures, but about the small, daily choices.
Precisely. He writes about the importance of fulfilling your role in the world, whatever that may be. For him, it was leading the empire, but for us, it might be being a good parent, a supportive friend, or a diligent worker. The key is to do it with integrity and with a sense of purpose.
That idea of purpose is really powerful. It's easy to get caught up in the daily grind and lose sight of why we're doing things. Aurelius seems to anchor himself by focusing on his moral obligations.
Absolutely. And another crucial theme is his focus on inner peace, or what the Stoics called ataraxia. He acknowledges the chaos around him, the political intrigue, the constant demands, but he consistently directs his attention inward to cultivate a calm and rational mind.
How did he manage to find that inner peace amidst such external turmoil? It seems almost impossible.
This is where his practical application of Stoicism shines. He uses what we discussed last time, the dichotomy of control. He acknowledges that he can't control external events, like the actions of others or the outcome of battles, but he can control his own judgment, his own intentions, and his own efforts. He focuses on doing his best with a virtuous intent and accepting the results.
So, it's not about denying the difficulties, but about changing his relationship to them. He's not trying to prevent bad things from happening, but to prevent them from disturbing his inner equilibrium.
Exactly. He often reflects on the transient nature of life and fame. He'd remind himself that empires fall, people are forgotten, and even the grandest achievements are temporary. This perspective helps to put our own anxieties and desires into their proper place. It's a form of humility, but also a source of strength.
That concept of memento mori, remembering death, is something we'll touch on later in the series, but it's clearly a strong undercurrent in Aurelius's thinking too. It adds a sense of urgency to living a good life now.
It does. And he's also very keen on practicing gratitude, not just for the good things, but for the challenges that allow him to practice virtue. He sees obstacles as opportunities to grow stronger, to be more patient, more resilient. It's a radical reframing of adversity.
It's like he's saying, thank you for this difficulty because it's giving me a chance to be a better person. That's a tough mindset to adopt.
It certainly is, but it's incredibly liberating. By accepting what he can't change and focusing on his ethical response, he frees himself from the grip of regret, anger, and frustration. He consistently reminds himself to see things as they truly are, stripped of emotional overlay.
He talks a lot about our connection to the wider universe, doesn't he? This idea of being part of a larger whole.
Yes, that's a vital component. He often uses the metaphor of a citizen of the world, a member of the cosmos. He believed that by acting in accordance with nature and by recognizing our interconnectedness with all humanity and the universe, we find our proper place and purpose. It's a reminder that our troubles are not unique and that we are part of something much bigger than ourselves.
It's a beautiful thought. When we feel isolated or overwhelmed, remembering that sense of connection can be incredibly comforting.
And it influences his view of other people. Even when dealing with difficult or unjust individuals, he reminds himself that they are acting out of ignorance or error. He advocates for understanding and compassion, even while maintaining his own ethical standards. He called it practicing philosophy, which involved being kind to our fellow humans.
So, meditations isn't just a historical artifact, it's a practical guide for daily living. It's Marcus Aurelius's personal Stoic toolkit, laid bare for us to learn from. He shows us how to be disciplined, find inner peace, accept what we can't change, and live a virtuous life, even when wearing the crown.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. His words, written over 18 centuries ago, still resonate because they address the fundamental human challenge: how to live well, with integrity and equanimity, no matter what life throws at us.
It's inspiring. We've explored emotional regulation, and now we've seen a real-life example of it in action with Marcus Aurelius. It makes the philosophy feel so much more tangible.
Indeed. Next episode, Seneca on hardship, turning obstacles into opportunities. Welcome back to Think Like a Stoic. Last time, we explored the personal reflections of Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations. Today, we're focusing on Seneca and his powerful ideas on handling life's tough times.
Seneca lived through turbulent periods in Roman history, so it makes sense that he'd have a lot to say about navigating hardship.
Absolutely. Seneca lived during the reign of Emperor Nero, a notoriously difficult and dangerous time. He faced exile and political intrigue. Yet, through it all, he developed a philosophy that helped him not just endure, but thrive. He saw hardships not as something to be avoided, but as essential for building a strong character.
That's a really different perspective. Most of us see challenges as something to complain about or get through as quickly as possible. Seneca thought they were good?
In a way, yes. He believed that adversity is like a training ground for the soul. Think about it. If you never face a difficult problem, how do you know you're capable of solving it? If you never experience loss, how do you learn the depth of your own resilience? Seneca would argue that it's precisely through these struggles that we discover our inner strength and virtue. He famously said that fortune, or fate, often tests those it values most.
So, it's like weightlifting for your character?
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. Exactly. Just like you wouldn't expect to build strong muscles by lifting feathers, you can't build a strong spirit by avoiding every difficult situation. Seneca urged us to not just tolerate hardship, but to actively embrace it. He saw it as an opportunity for growth, for learning, and for proving our commitment to Stoic principles. One of his key ideas is that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control our reaction to it.
That's the core Stoic concept, the dichotomy of control, that we discussed earlier. But Seneca really emphasized this when it came to suffering.
He did. He wrote extensively in his letters and essays about how to reframe our perception of difficulty. Instead of seeing a setback as a catastrophe, he encouraged us to see it as a chance to practice patience, courage, and wisdom. He believed that a truly wise person wouldn't be shaken by misfortune because their inner peace comes from virtue, not from external circumstances.
So, if I lose my job, for example, instead of spiraling into despair, Seneca would say to see it as an opportunity to maybe learn a new skill, to network, or to reevaluate my career path.
Precisely. He'd say, "What can I learn from this? How can this make me a better, stronger person?" He'd urge you to look for the lesson within the difficulty. He also pointed out that the anticipation of future hardship is often worse than the hardship itself. We borrow trouble from the future, as he put it.
Oh, that's so true. The anxiety about something bad happening can be much more draining than the actual event.
You're absolutely right. Seneca understood that. He advised us to mentally prepare for difficult times, to imagine the worst-case scenarios, not to wallow in them, but to desensitize ourselves to their potential sting. By confronting these fears in our minds, they lose their power over us. He also emphasized the importance of focusing on what we can do rather than dwelling on what we can't.
So, if something bad happens, Seneca would say, okay, this has happened. Now, what steps can I take within my control to deal with it?
Exactly. He would break it down. What resources do I have? Who can I ask for help? What skills can I use? He believed that even in the direst of circumstances, there are always actions we can take. He saw suffering as a form of correction, a way for nature or the universe to guide us towards a better path. It's about viewing adversity as a teacher, not an enemy.
It's a tough mindset to cultivate, though. It requires a lot of self-discipline and a fundamental shift in how we view the world.
It does. Seneca wasn't suggesting we should seek out pain, but rather that when pain comes, we should learn to extract its valuable lessons. He recognized that it's natural to feel sorrow or pain, but he cautioned against letting those emotions consume us. He advocated for a measured response, one guided by reason and virtue. He wrote that the best way to take revenge on your enemies is not to become like them.
That's powerful. It means not letting hardship turn us bitter or angry.
Precisely. It's about maintaining our integrity and our character, no matter what life throws at us. Seneca's approach to hardship is about cultivating inner resilience. He believed that the challenges we face are not random misfortunes, but opportunities to exercise our virtues: courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. He believed that by facing these challenges with a Stoic mindset, we can emerge stronger, wiser, and more at peace.
So, to summarize Seneca's approach to hardship, first, he sees challenges as opportunities for growth and character development, like a training ground. Second, he reminds us of the dichotomy of control, focus on our reactions, not the events themselves. Third, he advises us to mentally prepare for difficulties, reducing their power over us. And finally, he encourages us to extract lessons from suffering, maintaining our virtue, and not letting adversity make us bitter.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Seneca's teachings on hardship are incredibly relevant for navigating our own lives. They're a call to action, urging us to be proactive in how we face adversity, seeing it not as an ending, but as a vital part of our journey toward becoming a more virtuous and resilient person.
It really makes you think differently about those tough days. Instead of just wishing them away, we can ask, what can I learn from this? What can this teach me about my own strength?
Exactly. And that's the essence of living like a Stoic. Next episode: Epictetus and the Handbook for Freedom. Welcome back. Last time, we explored Seneca's powerful insights on turning obstacles into opportunities. Today, we delve into another foundational text, Epictetus's Enchiridion, or the Handbook.
The Enchiridion. It's so direct and practical. Epictetus really cuts to the chase, doesn't he?
Absolutely, Lisa. And its central message, especially relevant to our ongoing journey, is about freedom. But not the kind of freedom most people think of, freedom to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Epictetus's freedom is far more profound.
So, what is this Stoic freedom according to Epictetus? It's not about winning the lottery and traveling the world, right?
Not quite. Epictetus, who was himself born a slave, understood that true freedom isn't about controlling your external circumstances. It's about mastering your internal state, your mind, your judgments, and your desires. He would say that a wealthy emperor enslaved by his own anxieties is far less free than a humble person who controls their reactions to what happens.
That's a powerful distinction. So, external conditions don't dictate our freedom. It's all about our inner world. How does he break that down in the Enchiridion?
He starts with a crucial concept, the dichotomy of control. This is core to Epictetus's teaching, and indeed to all of Stoicism. He divides things into two categories, those we can control and those we cannot.
Right? I remember this. The things we can control are our judgments, our impulses, our desires, and our aversions. Basically, our thoughts and our actions.
Exactly. And the things we cannot control are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, anything external to ourselves. Epictetus insists that we should focus all our energy and attention on what is within our power. Trying to control what is outside of our power is a recipe for frustration, disappointment, and ultimately, a lack of freedom.
Because if you're constantly worried about things you can't influence, you're essentially a puppet to chance and circumstance.
Precisely. He writes, some things are within our power, others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are body, property, reputation, office, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. He's saying, pay attention to your inner steering wheel, not the changing weather outside.
So when we get upset because someone says something negative about us, that's us losing our freedom?
Yes, because their opinion of you is external. It's not within your control. What is within your control is how you interpret their words, whether you let them disturb your peace, and whether you allow that interpretation to dictate your feelings and actions. Epictetus would say, okay, they said that. That's their judgment. My judgment about it is what matters.
And that's where true liberty comes from, accepting what we can't change and focusing our will on what we can. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly challenging in practice.
It is. And Epictetus doesn't shy away from that. He emphasizes that this is a lifelong practice. He also warns us about our desires. He says we should desire things that are within our power, like wanting to be a good person or wanting to act with integrity. And we should be averse to or want to avoid things that are within our power, like acting foolishly or being unkind.
So, don't desire external things like wealth or fame, because you can't guarantee you'll get them, and then you'll be unhappy. And don't fear them either.
Precisely that. If you desire external things, you are handing over your peace of mind to them. If you get them, you'll live in fear of losing them. If you don't get them, you'll be dejected. It's a lose-lose proposition. On the other hand, if you focus your desires and aversions on your own actions and character, you are in control. You can always strive to be virtuous, and you can always strive to avoid vice, regardless of external circumstances.
This connects back to our discussion about virtue as the only good. Epictetus is reinforcing that if virtue is the only ultimate good, then focusing on cultivating it is the only rational pursuit.
You've got it. And he brings in the idea of prohairesis, which is often translated as our faculty of choice or our moral character. This is the seat of our freedom. He tells us to guard this prohairesis above all else, more than our own body, more than our life.
Because our character, our choices, our judgments, those are the immutable parts of us that external forces can't truly damage unless we allow them to.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Imagine your mind is a fortress. Your judgments, your intentions, your values are the gates and the soldiers. External events might be like arrows flying towards the fortress, but they can only get inside if you open the gates yourself by misinterpreting them or letting them dictate your emotional response.
That's a great analogy, Alex. So, the Enchiridion is essentially a guide on how to prevent those arrows from getting into our fortress.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a practical handbook. Epictetus doesn't delve into abstract theories. He gives us direct instructions. He tells us to not be carried away by impressions, but to examine them. Do they present something that's within your control or outside of it? If it's outside your control, let it go. If it's within your control, use your will to act appropriately.
And what happens when we practice this diligently? What's the promised outcome?
Tranquility, inner peace. freedom from being tossed about by fortune. Epictetus states that if we are diligent about these principles, we will then be free and unhindered, and we will blame no one, accuse no one, say nothing against anyone, and we will do nothing unwillingly.
That sounds like true freedom. To be in charge of your own internal state and not be a victim of circumstances or other people's actions.
It truly is, and it's accessible to everyone, regardless of their external situation. This is the empowering message of the Enchiridion. It's a roadmap to a life where you are sovereign over your own mind.
So, to recap for our listeners, Epictetus's Enchiridion guides us toward true freedom by focusing on the dichotomy of control, distinguishing between what we can and cannot influence. We must actively cultivate our inner world, our judgments, desires, and aversions, and let go of attachment to external outcomes. By guarding our prohairesis, or our faculty of choice, we become unshackled from the tyranny of external validation and uncontrolled passions, leading to genuine tranquility and autonomy.
Well said, Lisa. Next episode, Stoic approaches to managing our time and maximizing our productivity. Welcome back. Last time, we explored Epictetus's powerful ideas on achieving true freedom. Now, we're shifting our focus to mastering time and boosting our productivity.
Time feels like it's always slipping through our fingers, doesn't it? And with so many distractions, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and unproductive. How can Stoicism help us get a grip on our time?
That's the core question, Lisa. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, viewed time not as something to be conquered, but as a precious, fleeting resource. Their approach to productivity wasn't about cramming more into our day, but about using our time wisely with intention.
So it's less about doing more and more about doing the right things?
Exactly. One foundational Stoic idea that applies directly to time management is the dichotomy of control, which we touched on earlier. Remember, it's about distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. We can't control time's passage. It will keep ticking forward. But we can control how we choose to spend our moments.
That makes sense. So, instead of fretting about how fast time is going, we should focus on what we do with it.
Precisely. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the transient nature of life and the importance of the present moment. He'd remind himself that the past is gone, the future uncertain, and only the present is truly ours. This mindset encourages us to live fully in each moment, rather than constantly dwelling on what was or worrying about what might be.
He's urging us to be present then, like to really engage with what we're doing right now.
Absolutely. From this perspective, procrastination often stems from a disconnect with the present. We push tasks away because they feel unpleasant or overwhelming, defaulting to something more immediately gratifying. The Stoics would argue for confronting that discomfort head-on, recognizing that the act of starting a task in the present moment is within our control.
This reminds me of Seneca's advice on the shortness of life. He didn't mean life is too short, but rather that we make it short by wasting it.
You've hit on a key point. Seneca believed that many people are not truly busy, but merely occupied with trivialities. He'd ask us to consider where our time actually goes. Is it spent on things that truly matter, that align with our virtues and goals, or is it frittered away on distractions and demands that ultimately leave us feeling empty?
That's a powerful question. I think we all know the answer for ourselves, even if it's a bit uncomfortable to admit. So, practically, what did the Stoics suggest for focusing our efforts?
They emphasize clarity of purpose and the prioritization of what is truly important. For them, what's important is aligned with virtue. So, a Stoic approach to productivity involves asking, what is the most virtuous and rational thing I can do with my time right now? This means identifying our core values and ensuring our actions reflect them.
So it's about aligning our daily tasks with our deeper principles, rather than just ticking off a to-do list.
Exactly. Epictetus, with his focus on what is up to us, would encourage us to see our efforts as within our sphere of control. We can control our intentions, our willingness to apply ourselves, and our diligence in pursuing a task. We can't control external outcomes perfectly, but we can control the quality of our effort.
That's a freeing thought. It takes the pressure off needing a perfect result and puts the focus on our own good work.
It does. And to help with this clarity, the Stoics recommended some practical exercises. One is to regularly review your day, not just to see what you got done, but to assess how you spend your time. Did you act with reason? Did you serve your purpose? Were you mindful of your obligations to yourself and others?
Like a mini reflection at the end of each day.
Precisely. And before they even started their day, Stoics might practice what we can call premeditation of evils, or premeditatio malorum. While it sounds grim, its purpose was to mentally prepare for potential obstacles and time wasters. By anticipating disruptions or challenges, we can develop a more resilient and less reactive approach when they occur.
So, thinking about what could go wrong or what might distract you actually helps you stay on track?
In a way, yes. It's like having an umbrella ready before the rain starts. You're not inviting the rain, but you're prepared to handle it. Seneca eloquently described this. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. This is why proactive planning and mindful allocation of our hours are so critical.
So, to recap, the Stoic approach to mastering time isn't about frantic activity, but about conscious, deliberate action. It involves 1. Recognizing the present moment as our only true possession. 2. Focusing on what is within our control, our intentions and efforts. 3. Aligning our actions with virtue and purpose, asking what's most important. And 4. Practicing reflection and mental preparation to navigate time effectively.
That's a perfect summary. Lisa, by adopting these principles, we can move from feeling like victims of time to becoming its mindful stewards. It's about cultivating a deep appreciation for each moment and using it for what truly matters.
It's a powerful shift in perspective, and it makes so much sense why these ancient ideas are still so relevant today regarding productivity and living a fulfilling life. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to master your time. Today, we're tackling a challenge that confronts all of us, navigating difficult people. It's truly a test of patience, isn't it, Lisa?
Absolutely, Alex. We all encounter people who test our patience, whether it's a challenging colleague, a demanding family member, or even someone new we've just met. It can be incredibly draining.
It truly can. But here's the good news. The ancient Stoics, well over 2,000 years ago, had incredibly practical advice for just this situation. They understood that while we can't control other people's actions, we absolutely can control our own reactions.
That's a core Stoic principle, isn't it? The dichotomy of control. We focus on what we can influence, our thoughts, our judgments, our actions, and let go of what we can't, like someone else's behavior.
Exactly. So, when you're faced with someone difficult, the first Stoic step is to internalize that. Ask yourself explicitly, what is within my control here? It's not about changing them. It's about how you choose to respond.
So, instead of getting angry or frustrated by their rudeness, we focus on maintaining our own composure?
Precisely. Seneca, a Roman Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively on anger. He pointed out that anger often arises from an expectation that others will behave as we wish them to, and then being disappointed when they don't. But if we abandon that expectation, anger loses its fuel entirely.
That's a powerful thought. So, we actively work to adjust our expectations about how others should behave?
Yes, this doesn't mean accepting bad behavior, but it means recognizing that other people have their own minds, their own struggles, and their own flawed perspectives. They might be acting out of ignorance, fear, or their own unhappiness. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, would often remind himself of this. He'd reflect on how illogical and uncooperative people can be, and yet they are our kin. We're all part of the same human family, meant to work together.
We are all part of the same human family, meant to work together. That's a great anchor phrase. It directly encourages empathy, even when it's hard.
It does. And empathy is absolutely key. Epictetus, a former slave who became a renowned Stoic teacher, emphasized understanding. He'd say that when someone wrongs you, remember that they likely don't know they are wronging you, or they're acting based on their own understanding of the world.
It's like looking at their actions through a lens of compassion rather than immediate, reflexive judgment.
Exactly. And this leads to the third crucial Stoic strategy, responding with reason, not emotion. When someone is being difficult, our natural instinct is often to lash back with our own emotions, anger, defensiveness, or frustration. But the Stoics would advocate for a pause.
A pause? What does that look like in practice when you're in the middle of an interaction?
It means taking a breath internally. It means observing the situation without immediately labeling it as good or bad. It's about detaching your immediate emotional reaction from the event itself. Remember our discussions on emotional regulation? This is where it truly shines, allowing us to choose our response.
So, when someone says something hurtful, instead of immediately feeling attacked and reacting defensively, we can first acknowledge the statement, then choose a calm, rational response.
Precisely. It's about choosing your words and actions deliberately. This doesn't mean being a doormat. It means being assertive and clear, but without the emotional charge. It's communicating your boundaries or concerns effectively while maintaining your inner peace.
This sounds like it requires a lot of self-awareness and emotional discipline.
It does. It's a practice, not a one-time fix that solves everything instantly. Think of it like building a muscle. The more you practice pausing, observing your emotions, and choosing a rational response, the stronger that ability becomes. Marcus Aurelius would often perform mental exercises to prepare himself for difficult interactions. He'd picture the challenging people he might encounter and reflect on how he would respond virtuously.
So, preparation is also a key element. Mentally rehearsing how you want to react can make a big difference in the moment.
Absolutely. And another vital Stoic idea is to focus on your own duties and virtues. When you're dealing with someone who is making things difficult, you can redirect your energy towards fulfilling your own responsibilities with integrity. Your focus shifts from their problematic behavior to your own role and how you can act virtuously.
This feels like a powerful way to regain control and agency. Instead of being pulled into their drama, you anchor yourself firmly in your own principles.
And it's about recognizing that their difficult behavior is ultimately their problem, not yours. It might affect you, certainly, but the root of their actions lies within them. Our goal, as Stoics, is to maintain our own character and inner stability, regardless of external circumstances or the behavior of others.
So, to recap, when facing difficult people, the Stoic approach involves first, remembering the dichotomy of control. Focus on your own reactions, not their behavior. Second, practicing empathy and adjusting expectations, understanding they may be acting from their own limitations. Third, pausing and choosing a rational response over an emotional one. And fourth, focusing on your own duties and virtues to maintain your inner strength and peace.
That sums it up beautifully, Lisa. It's about approaching these interactions with a calm mind, a clear intention of acting with virtue, and the understanding that you can choose your response, no matter what. It's truly about diplomacy rooted in wisdom and self-mastery.
It's incredibly liberating to think we have this power within us, even when dealing with the most challenging personalities.
Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to navigate difficult people with Stoic wisdom. Today, we're building on that foundation by exploring how to cultivate an unbreakable spirit, how to face adversity with resilience.
That sounds so important, Alex. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? So, how do the Stoics help us build this kind of mental fortitude?
That's exactly right, Lisa. The Stoics understood that life is inherently unpredictable and often challenging. They didn't promise a life free from hardship, but they offered a powerful framework for how to respond to it. At its core, Stoic resilience is about understanding what you can control and what you cannot.
Ah, the dichotomy of control. We touched on that in episode 2, if I recall correctly.
Precisely. And it's crucial here. The Stoics taught that external events, things like job loss, the opinions of others, or illness, are largely outside our direct influence. What is within our control is our judgment about these events, our reactions, and our choices. Building an unbreakable spirit means anchoring ourselves firmly in this domain of control.
So, it's not about pretending bad things don't happen, but about how we interpret them and what we do about them.
Exactly. Think of it like a sailor. The sailor can't control the storm, but they can control how they steer the ship, how they adjust the sails, and their own composure. Epictetus, that brilliant former slave, emphasized this. It's not what happens to you, but how you perceive it that matters. A perceived insult might feel devastating, but the power of that insult is only realized if we allow ourselves to be offended.
That's a powerful distinction. So, a key to resilience is managing our perceptions. What else contributes to this unbreakable spirit?
Another vital element is cultivating a sense of gratitude, even in difficult times. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, constantly reminded himself to be thankful for what he had, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking or what's gone wrong to what's present and good. It's a mental exercise that builds a positive inner state, making us less susceptible to being overwhelmed by negativity.
I can see how that would help. When you're focused on what you have, it's harder for what you don't have to drag you down.
Yes, it reframes your perspective. Seneca, another Stoic master, also spoke extensively about preparing for adversity. He called it premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This doesn't mean dwelling on the negative, but rather mentally rehearsing how you might handle potential challenges.
Mentally rehearsing problems? That sounds a bit counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? But hear me out. By contemplating potential setbacks before they happen, we strip them of their surprise and shock factor. When, or if they occur, we're not caught completely off guard. We've already thought through, okay, if this happens, I will turn to virtue, I will assess what's within my control, I will remember my training. It's like a fire drill for your mind.
So, it's about building a mental toolkit in advance, rather than trying to improvise when the house is already on fire.
Precisely. And central to this toolkit is the concept of virtue. Remember from episode 3, the Stoics believed virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance was the sole good. External circumstances can take everything else away, but they cannot take your virtue. Your character, your integrity that remains yours. This inner strength, this commitment to living virtuously, forms the bedrock of an unbreakable spirit. You are resilient because your core values are unassailable.
This is really resonating. It's about building an inner fortress that external storms can't breach. It's not about being emotionless, but about not being ruled by emotions in a destructive way.
Absolutely. The Stoics didn't advocate for suppressing emotions, but for understanding and managing them. They recognized that certain emotions, like fear or despair, can paralyze us. Resilience, in the Stoic sense, means facing those difficult emotions, acknowledging them, and then choosing a rational, virtuous response. It's about emotional intelligence applied with purpose.
So, to recap, building an unbreakable spirit through Stoicism involves 1. Firmly grounding ourselves in the dichotomy of control, focusing on our judgments and actions. 2. Cultivating gratitude to shift our perspective from lack to abundance. 3. Practicing premeditatio malorum, mentally preparing for potential challenges to reduce their impact. And 4. Anchoring ourselves in virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance as our ultimate, unassailable strength.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And perhaps the most important aspect is the practice. These aren't just ideas to be passively understood, they're active disciplines to be lived. Every challenge, every setback is an opportunity to practice these Stoic principles and strengthen that unbreakable spirit. It's about developing an inner constitution that can weather any storm, not by avoiding it, but by facing it with wisdom and courage.
It sounds like a journey of continuous growth.
It certainly is. And the rewards are immense. A life lived with greater peace, purpose, and an unwavering sense of self, regardless of external circumstances.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to build resilience. Today, we're diving deep into conquering fear and anxiety.
Fear and anxiety. They can feel like they have a tight grip on us, can't they? It's like a persistent, unwelcome guest that just won't leave.
Exactly, Lisa. And the Stoics, with their practical wisdom, offered some incredibly powerful antidotes. Their approach isn't about suppressing emotions, but about understanding them and disarming their power.
So, how do we start disarming them? I imagine the first step is recognizing what we're actually afraid of.
Precisely. The Stoics would say that often our fears aren't rooted in reality, but in our judgments about reality. They encouraged us to examine our fears, to really dissect them. Ask yourself, what is the worst that can truly happen? And then, am I capable of handling that worst case scenario?
That's a very direct question. It forces you to confront the things you dread most. It sounds a bit like stepping into the storm instead of trying to hide from it.
That's a great analogy, Lisa. It certainly requires courage. A key Stoic idea here is the dichotomy of control, which we touched on before. Remember? Things we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our judgments, and things we cannot control. Other people's opinions, external events, the future.
Ah, yes. And the Stoics insisted we should focus our energy only on what's within our control.
Exactly. So, when fear or anxiety arises, the Stoic practice is to ask, is this fear about something I can control or something I cannot? If it's about something you cannot control, the Stoic response is to let it go. It's a waste of mental energy to worry about what you can influence.
That makes sense intellectually, but how do you actually do that? My mind races with what ifs about things I can't control all the time.
It's a practice, not a one-time fix. The Stoics would advocate for what's called premeditation of evils, or premeditatio malorum. This isn't about dwelling on the negative, but about mentally rehearsing potential difficulties.
So, you visualize bad things happening to prepare yourself? That sounds a little morbid.
It might sound so at first, but think about it differently. Imagine you're going on a challenging hike. Would you rather be surprised by a sudden storm, or have packed a raincoat and studied the map beforehand?
I definitely want to be prepared.
Right. So, Premeditatio malorum is like packing that mental raincoat. By contemplating potential setbacks, losing a job, facing criticism, experiencing a failure, you strip them of their shock value. When they do happen, they are less devastating because you've already considered them and, crucially, how you would respond virtuously.
So, it's about reducing the emotional impact of these events by mentally preparing for them and focusing on your response to them.
Precisely. You're not trying to prevent them, because many of them are outside your control. You are preparing yourself to handle them with virtue, with reason, with courage. This, in turn, diminishes the power of fear. If you've already thought through how you'll cope with a setback, the fear of that setback loses its sting.
That's a powerful reframing. It takes the focus off the terrifying external event and puts it back onto your inner strength.
Absolutely. Another vital Stoic tool for managing fear and anxiety is the examination of your judgments. Fear often arises from faulty judgments. We judge a situation as catastrophic or ourselves as incapable.
So, it's about challenging those initial, often exaggerated, judgments.
Yes, Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The Stoics applied this to our thoughts. When an anxious thought arises, pause and examine it rationally. Is this thought based on evidence? Is it a true reflection of reality or my interpretation of it? Am I jumping to conclusions?
This sounds very much like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is popular today. The Stoics really were ahead of their time.
They really were. They understood that our perception of events, more than the events themselves, is what causes us distress. If you perceive a challenging situation as an insurmountable disaster, it will feel that way. If you perceive it as an opportunity to practice wisdom and resilience, it transforms.
So, to conquer fear and anxiety, the Stoics teach us to first identify and analyze our fears, especially by separating what we can control from what we cannot. Second, to mentally prepare for potential difficulties through premeditatio malorum. And third, to rigorously examine our judgments and perceptions about events.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And a crucial element connecting all of this is the Stoic focus on virtue. When you frame your response to any situation, fearful or not, around acting virtuously, with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, you ground yourself. Your actions become your priority, not the outcome you fear.
This gives us a practical framework for tackling those persistent worries. It's not easy, but it's certainly empowering to know there are tools we can use.
Indeed, it's about cultivating an inner fortress that external events cannot breach. By mastering our perceptions and focusing on virtuous action, we can truly conquer fear and anxiety.
It sounds like a lifelong practice, but one that leads to a profound sense of peace.
That's the goal. Next episode, a more fatty, loving your fate with Marcus Aurelius. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to conquer fear and anxiety, equipping ourselves with the Stoic antidote to worry. Today, we're diving into a concept that, at first glance, might seem even bolder, amor fati.
Amor fati. It's Latin for love of fate. It sounds a bit passive, doesn't it? Like just accepting whatever happens without any effort. But I know from our previous discussions that Stoicism is anything but passive. So, Alex, what does it truly mean to love your fate?
That's an excellent question, Lisa, and it gets right to the heart of it. Amor fati isn't about resigned acceptance. It's an active, enthusiastic embrace of everything that life throws at you, the good and the bad, as if you had willed it to be so. It's about recognizing that every event, every challenge, every joy is an essential part of the tapestry of your life.
So, it's not just saying, Okay, this happened, I guess I have to deal with it. It's more like, this happened and I welcome it. I even love that it happened because it's part of my journey.
Precisely. Think of it like a sailor. A sailor doesn't control the winds, but they can choose how to set their sails to navigate a storm. A more fatty is about setting your sails to embrace the wind, whatever direction it blows. Marcus Aurelius, our philosopher king, often grappled with this in his writings. He understood that wishing for things to be different from how they are is a futile exercise that leads only to suffering.
He wrote about this in the context of dealing with difficult people, didn't he? That by understanding that other people's actions are ultimately outside our control, and by accepting that their actions are simply part of the larger order of things, we can free ourselves from anger and frustration.
Exactly. And a more fatty takes that a step further. It's not just accepting the actions of others, but accepting all circumstances. Picture this. You're building something, perhaps a beautiful garden. Some days the sun shines perfectly and your plants flourish. Other days, there's a harsh frost or a torrential downpour. A more fatty means loving those days too, because the frost might teach you about resilience, and the rain is essential for growth. You don't curse the rain, you understand its necessity.
That's a powerful way to look at it. It reframes challenges not as setbacks, but as integral parts of the process. So, instead of wishing the frost away, you might say, a frost. This will test the hardiness of my plants, and in turn, teach me about perseverance.
You've got it. Marcus Aurelius encourages us to see these events as opportunities to practice virtue. When something unwelcome happens, our first instinct might be to resist it, to push back. But Stoicism teaches us that this resistance is where the real pain lies. A more fatty is the practice of letting go of that resistance. It's about aligning your will with the will of the universe, with what is happening.
This concept really challenges the way we're often taught to think, which is to constantly strive for specific outcomes and to avoid anything negative. Amor fati seems to suggest that the outcome itself, whatever it is not just acceptable, but actually good because it's what is meant to be.
Yes, it's a radical shift in perspective. It's about understanding that your life, with all its twists and turns, is exactly as it should be for you at this very moment. This doesn't mean we stop aiming for goals or stop trying to improve things. The Stoics were very active, but it means we do so with an understanding that the outcome is not entirely in our hands, and that whatever happens, we can find value and purpose in it. It's about finding peace, not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our internal response to it.
So, how can someone practically cultivate this love of fate? It seems like a very advanced Stoic practice.
It is, but like all Stoic practices, it begins with small, consistent efforts. First, as we've discussed, is the dichotomy of control. Constantly remind yourself what is within your power and what isn't. When something external happens that you don't like, ask yourself, is this within my control? If it isn't, the Stoic response is to accept it. A more fatty elevates this acceptance to a positive affirmation. Second, practice gratitude, not just for the good things, but for the lessons learned from the difficult ones. Thank the experience for the wisdom it has imparted, the strength it has built, or the character it has revealed. Third, reframe negative events as necessary steps in your personal development. Every setback, every disappointment is a sculptor's chisel. It might hurt in the moment, but it's shaping you into something stronger. Remember what we discussed about Seneca on hardship? This is the ultimate application of that principle.
So, to summarize, Amor Fati is about actively embracing everything that happens in your life, good and bad, as if you willed it. It's not resignation, but a powerful affirmation. It's about finding peace and purpose by aligning your will with the universe and seeing every event, even adversity, as a necessary and valuable part of your journey.
Exactly. It's a profound choice to see the beauty not just in the sunny days, but in the storms as well. It's about trusting the process of life itself. By loving what is, we find an unshakable inner freedom and a deeper sense of contentment that no external circumstance can disrupt. Next episode, Stoicism at Work, Finding Purpose in Productivity. Welcome back. Last time, we explored loving whatever fate brings your way. Now let's apply that profound philosophy to our daily grind, the workplace.
That's such a relevant topic, Alex. So many of us spend a huge chunk of our lives at work, and it can be a major source of stress. How can Stoicism help us navigate it better?
Well, Lisa, the core Stoic idea that immediately applies to the workplace is the dichotomy of control. Remember we discussed this earlier? It's the principle of distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. In a professional setting, this is incredibly powerful.
Right.
So, what's within our control at work? Our attitude, our effort, our choices, our responses. And what's not in our control? Our boss's mood, the company's finances, a colleague's opinion of us, or the outcomes of projects sometimes.
Exactly. Think about it. How much energy do we waste worrying about things we can't influence? A project deadline gets moved up. The client changes their mind. These are external events. A Stoic approach says, focus on your reaction. Can you work a bit harder? Can you communicate clearly about the new deadline? Can you adapt to the client's new request with grace? That's where your power lies.
So, it's about shifting our focus from the uncontrollable outcome to our controllable actions and mindset. That sounds like a recipe for reduced workplace anxiety.
Precisely. And this ties directly into finding purpose. Stoics believed virtue is the only true good, and we've explored this idea extensively. At work, this translates to doing your job with excellence, integrity, and a commitment to what's right, regardless of external rewards like promotions or bonuses. Your purpose isn't just the paycheck, it's in the quality of your contribution.
That's a fantastic way to reframe it. Instead of chasing external validation, we focus on internal excellence. It makes the work itself more meaningful.
Absolutely. And this brings us to productivity. Often, we think productivity means doing more, faster. But Stoics would say true productivity is about doing what matters with focus and discipline. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, constantly reminds himself to stick to his tasks, to be present, and to act justly. He saw his duties as essential, not a burden.
So, instead of getting bogged down by distractions or feeling overwhelmed, we can ask ourselves, what is the most virtuous or important thing I can be doing right now?
You've got it. And this involves managing our emotions, another key Stoic principle we've covered. When faced with a difficult colleague, a frustrating mistake, or a setback, our primal reaction might be anger, fear, or despair. Stoicism teaches us to pause, observe our initial emotional response, and then respond rationally.
It's like creating a little space between the stimulus and the response. Instead of immediately reacting, we can check in with ourselves. Is this situation truly catastrophic, or is it just an inconvenience, something I can handle with reason?
That's the essence of it. Seneca, who often wrote about hardship, would advise us to practice what he called premeditation of evils, essentially, mentally rehearsing potential difficulties. Imagine a project failing or a difficult conversation. By preparing ourselves mentally, the actual event, if it occurs, is far less shocking and destabilizing.
That's such a clever strategy. It's not about being pessimistic, but about being mentally prepared so we're not blindsided. It allows us to approach challenges with a calm, problem-solving mindset rather than an emotional meltdown.
Indeed. And how does this apply to communication at work? Stoicism encourages clear, honest, and considerate speech. We should speak truthfully, but also kindly. Avoid gossip, hurtful remarks, or inflammatory language. Epictetus, for example, emphasize the importance of listening more than speaking.
So the Stoic workplace is one where people are not only efficient but also respectful and considerate in their interactions. It's about building better professional connections.
Exactly. And what about dealing with criticism? In a Stoic framework, criticism can be valuable feedback. If it's fair, we learn from it. If it's unfair, we don't let it disturb our inner peace. We remember the dichotomy of control. We can't control what someone says about us, but we can control how we interpret and react to it. A Stoic doesn't dwell on the insult. They consider the substance.
So, to sum up, for our listeners thinking about applying Stoicism to their work lives, embrace the dichotomy of control to reduce stress and focus your energy. Find purpose in the quality of your work and your integrity, not just external rewards. Practice discipline and focus to be truly productive. Manage your emotional responses to challenges by pausing and responding rationally, perhaps even by mentally preparing for difficulties. And communicate clearly and listen actively. Is that a good overview?
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. It's about cultivating a resilient, virtuous, and effective self within the professional arena. By applying these ancient principles, we can transform our workday from a source of dread into an opportunity for growth and fulfillment. It's about thriving, not just surviving, in our careers.
Absolutely. It transforms our mindset, allowing us to approach our jobs with greater calm, clarity, and purpose.
Next episode, Stoicism in Relationships, Cultivating Connection and Harmony. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how Stoicism can boost productivity and purpose at work. Today, we're shifting our focus to relationships.
That's right, Alex. We've talked a lot about inner strength and self-mastery, but Stoicism has so much to offer for how we connect with others. It's not just about being a resilient individual, it's about being a virtuous and harmonious person within our communities.
Exactly. And when we talk about relationships, we mean all of them: our partners, our families, our friends, even our colleagues. The core Stoic principles can really help us navigate these interactions with more wisdom and less distress.
So, where do we begin? How does Stoicism provide a framework for better relationships?
The foundation, as always with Stoicism, is the dichotomy of control. Remember, we can only control our own thoughts, judgments, and actions. We can't control other people's thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. This is absolutely crucial in relationships. How often do we get frustrated because someone isn't acting the way we expect or want them to?
Oh, all the time. I think it's natural to have expectations, but applying the dichotomy of control means accepting that those expectations might not always align with reality from the other person's perspective. We have to focus on our own response.
Precisely. Instead of getting upset that your partner, for example, didn't unload the dishwasher when you asked, which is outside your direct control, you can focus on your own action. Whether you communicate your needs clearly and kindly, or how you choose to react to the situation without anger. It's about choosing the virtuous response on your part, regardless of their actions.
That makes so much sense. It shifts the burden from trying to change someone else to mastering our own reactions. So, it's about acceptance then?
Acceptance is a huge part of it, but it's an active acceptance, not passive resignation. It's about understanding that everyone is doing the best they can with their own understanding and circumstances. Epictetus, in his handbook, really emphasized that we shouldn't be surprised or angered by the actions of others, as they are often operating on faulty judgments, just as we sometimes do.
Faulty judgments, that's a powerful concept. It reminds us that when someone acts in a way we find difficult, they might not be intentionally trying to hurt us. They might simply be mistaken or misinformed.
Exactly. And this leads us to another key Stoic idea: empathy, viewed through the lens of reason. We should try to understand people's motivations, even if we don't agree with them. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that people are inherently social beings, meant to cooperate, and that when they act badly, it's a departure from their true nature, often due to ignorance.
So, instead of seeing someone who is being difficult as inherently bad, we see them as someone who is perhaps misguided or acting out of a flawed understanding. And our role is to respond with reason and virtue ourselves, rather than mirroring their negativity.
Yes, and by responding with reason and virtue, we can foster environments where better communication and understanding can emerge. Think about it. If you respond to anger with anger, you escalate the situation. If you respond with calm, reasoned dialogue, you create an opening for de-escalation and problem solving.
This sounds like it could be incredibly helpful in resolving conflicts. How would a Stoic approach conflict resolution with a loved one?
Well, the first step is to regain your own composure. When emotions run high, our judgment goes out the window. We need to pause, take a breath, and remind ourselves of what's truly important, maintaining our own virtue and the integrity of the relationship. Then, approach the conversation with the goal of understanding and finding a mutually agreeable solution, rather than just winning the argument.
So, it's not about avoiding conflict, but about engaging with it constructively?
Precisely. Seneca often spoke about the importance of honesty and directness, but always delivered with kindness and a genuine desire for the other person's well-being. A Stoic approach to conflict means stating your needs and concerns clearly, but framing them in a way that focuses on the shared goal of a healthy relationship, rather than assigning blame.
It's about focusing on the desired outcome, which is a strong and harmonious relationship, rather than getting bogged down in the immediate frustration.
This also ties into the Stoic ideal of justice. In relationships, justice means treating people fairly, with respect, and giving them what they are due. It means not holding grudges, not engaging in petty behaviors, and recognizing the dignity of each person. We should strive to see the best in people and assume good intentions, just as we would want them to assume the best in us.
That's a beautiful reminder. It encourages us to be the kind of person we'd want to have as a friend or partner. It's about cultivating that inner virtue, justice, wisdom, temperance, and courage, and letting that guide our interactions.
Absolutely. And we can also apply the Stoic idea of seeing the world as a larger whole, a cosmopolitan perspective. In relationships, this means recognizing that the people in our lives are not just there for our benefit, but are also fellow human beings with their own struggles, joys, and inherent worth. We are all part of the same human family, and we have a duty to treat each other with compassion and respect.
It's like zooming out from our immediate feelings or frustrations to see the bigger picture of shared humanity. It fosters connection rather than isolation.
Exactly. So, to recap for our listeners, Stoicism helps us in relationships by emphasizing the dichotomy of control to manage our reactions, encouraging reasoned empathy to understand others, promoting constructive conflict resolution, upholding justice and fairness, and reminding us of our shared humanity. It's about being a source of calm and virtue in our connections, rather than a source of turmoil.
It's a very practical philosophy for building deeper, more resilient, and more harmonious relationships. By focusing on our own actions and attitudes, we can indeed cultivate stronger bonds with the people who matter most to us.
And that's a powerful way to live. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time we covered how Stoic principles can help us cultivate stronger relationships. Today, we're shifting our focus to making wise choices.
Making decisions, big or small, is something we do all the time. But how many of those choices are truly guided by wisdom rather than habit, emotion, or external pressure? I'm really interested to hear how the Stoics tackled this?
That's exactly the question, Lisa. At its core, Stoic decision-making isn't about predicting the future perfectly, but about approaching each choice with clarity, reason, and a focus on what's truly within our control. It's about understanding the power we have over our own judgments and actions.
So, it's less about finding the right answer and more about the right way to go about finding it?
Precisely. The Stoics would say that the external outcome of a decision is often outside our control. What is within our control is our intention, our reasoning process, and our virtue in making the choice. Think of it like sailing. You can't control the wind or the waves, but you can control how you steer the boat.
That's a great analogy. So, what are the key Stoic principles that guide us in making these wiser choices?
One of the foundational ideas is the dichotomy of control, which we've touched on before. When faced with a decision, the first step is to discern what aspects are truly within your power and what are not. For example, deciding to apply for a new job is within your control. Whether you get the job is not.
Right. So, you focus your energy on the application process, doing your best, preparing well, rather than obsessing over the outcome.
Exactly. This principle helps us avoid anxiety and distress about things we can't influence. When making a decision, we ask ourselves, what action can I take? And what factors are external to me? We then commit to acting virtuously in the controllable parts.
That sounds like it helps to simplify complex decisions, doesn't it? By separating what we can and cannot control, we can direct our attention more effectively.
Absolutely. Remember when we discussed virtue as the soul good? That's another crucial Stoic element. For the Stoics, a good decision is one that is aligned with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. So, when faced with a choice, we ask, what is the virtuous thing to do here?
Even if it's the harder path?
Especially if it's the harder path. External rewards like money, fame, or even approval are considered indifference by the Stoics. They have no bearing on our true well-being. Virtue, on the other hand, is the only thing that truly contributes to a good and flourishing life. Therefore, any decision that prioritizes virtue over these external factors is a wise decision.
So, we're not aiming for the decision that brings the most pleasure or the least pain, but the one that aligns with our deepest ethical principles.
Precisely. It's about integrity. This also means considering the long-term consequences, not just the immediate gratification or relief. The Stoics encouraged us to think systematically about the ripple effects of our choices. Will this decision contribute to my character development and overall well-being in the long run?
That's where the practice of journaling, like Marcus Aurelius did, could be really helpful, reflecting on past decisions and their outcomes.
Indeed, taking time for reflection is vital. The Stoics recommended contemplating different scenarios, weighing the pros and cons from a rational, objective standpoint, and using our faculty of reason. This involves examining our desires and aversions. Are they based on sound judgment or are they misguided by superficial impressions?
It's about pausing before acting then, not letting impulse or strong emotions hijack the decision-making process.
Exactly. When faced with a difficult choice, a Stoic would advise us to step back, take a deep breath, and assess the situation as if observing it from a distance. This mental exercise, sometimes called the view from above, helps to put things in perspective and reduce the emotional charge.
So, we're essentially creating mental space to allow our rational mind to take the lead.
Yes, and within that space, we consider our duties. The Stoics believed we have duties to ourselves, to our families, to our communities, and to humanity as a whole. A wise decision will consider these interconnected responsibilities. For instance, a decision that benefits you but harms your family or community would likely be deemed unwise from a Stoic perspective.
It's a holistic approach, then, not just thinking about me, but about how my choice impacts the larger web of relationships and existence.
That's right. And finally, Stoic decision-making embraces uncertainty. We can gather information, weigh probabilities, and act with intention, but the ultimate outcome remains unknown. The Stoic response to this uncertainty is not to freeze, but to act with courage and resilience, knowing that we have done our best with the information and principles we have. This leads us to accept whatever happens with equanimity, a concept we will explore further.
So, to recap, today we've learned that Stoic decision-making is about, first, clearly distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. Second, prioritizing virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance as the sole good, above external rewards. Third, considering the long-term consequences of our actions. Fourth, taking time for rational reflection and observing our desires and aversions. Fifth, considering our duties to ourselves and others. And finally, embracing uncertainty with courage and acting with intention.
You've summarized it beautifully, Lisa. By applying these principles, we can move from reactive, often emotionally driven choices to proactive, deeply considered actions that align with our values and contribute to a more meaningful life.
It really reframes choices not as potential pitfalls, but as opportunities to practice wisdom and integrity.
That's the Stoic perspective. Memento mori, confronting mortality for a fuller life. Welcome back. Last time we explored Stoic decision-making. Today, we're discussing memento mori.
Memento mori, a Latin phrase that translates to remember you must die. It sounds a little bleak, doesn't it, Alex?
It can certainly sound that way, Lisa. But for the Stoics, remembering our mortality wasn't about dwelling in darkness. It was about illuminating life. Think of it like this. If you know a favorite park will be closed for renovations next month, you'll probably make an effort to visit it more often in the weeks leading up to the closure, right?
That makes sense. You appreciate it more because you know its time is limited.
Exactly. Memento mori functions in a similar way. By confronting the reality of our impermanence, we're prompted to live more intentionally, more virtuously, and to truly appreciate the present moment. It's a way to shake ourselves out of complacency and to reevaluate what truly matters.
So, it's not about being morbid, but about being motivated?
Precisely. The Stoics understood that we often postpone living. We say, I'll be happy when I retire, or I'll pursue my passions when I have more time. But memento mori reminds us that time is not guaranteed. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reflected on this. He'd remind himself that life is fleeting, that everyone, the great and the humble, eventually turns to dust. This wasn't a morbid obsession. It was a powerful tool to keep him grounded and focused on what he could control, his actions and his character in the present.
That's a profound shift in perspective. Instead of fearing death, they use the idea of death as a teacher.
Absolutely. One of the key benefits of this practice is that it helps us to diminish our attachment to fleeting pleasures and external accolades. If we know our time is short and that ultimately all these external things will be left behind, then the pursuit of wealth or fame for its own sake can seem rather hollow. Instead, we can focus on cultivating inner qualities, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These are the things that truly enrich our lives and can be carried with us, in a sense, eternally, through our actions and our impact.
It helps us prioritize what's truly important. It's easy to get caught up in daily annoyances or trivial pursuits. Remembering our mortality can put those things into perspective.
It certainly can. Epictetus, another great Stoic teacher, often emphasized focusing on what is within our control. Our breath, our thoughts, our reactions, these are ours. Our reputation, our possessions, our lifespan. These are not entirely within our control. Memento mori reminds us of this fundamental truth, encouraging us to invest our energy wisely in cultivating our inner character, rather than chasing after external outcomes that are ultimately impermanent.
So, in practice, how would someone start incorporating memento mori into their lives? It sounds like a challenging reflection.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You can start with simple daily reflections. In the morning, perhaps, as you get out of bed, take a moment to acknowledge that this day is a gift. Think about what you want to accomplish today, not just in terms of tasks, but in terms of how you want to be. How can you be more patient? How can you be more courageous? How can you approach your interactions with integrity?
So, connecting it to your virtues, like we discussed in episode 3.
Precisely. And then, perhaps in the evening, before you sleep, you can reflect on how the day went. Did you live in accordance with your values? Did you let small things derail you? This isn't about self-criticism, but about learning and growth. It's about asking, is this how I want to spend my finite time on earth? By regularly bringing our mortality to mind, we imbue each moment with greater significance. We become more present, more grateful, and less likely to postpone joy or important actions.
I can see how this practice would naturally lead to less anxiety about the future and less regret about the past. It anchors us firmly in the now.
That's the goal. The Stoics believed that by contemplating the end, we can live more fully in the middle. It's about appreciating the preciousness of each moment, each breath, each opportunity to act virtuously. It's a constant reminder to live a life that you would be proud to look back on. It pushes us to ask ourselves, if this were my last day, would I be content with how I lived it? And that's a powerful question that can guide us towards a more meaningful existence.
So, to recap, memento mori, or remembering that we must die, isn't about being morbid. It's a Stoic practice that uses the contemplation of our mortality as a powerful motivator. It helps us appreciate the present moment, prioritize what truly matters, our virtues, and live with greater intention and gratitude. By reminding ourselves that life is finite, we are encouraged to live each day as if it were our last, focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts, our actions, and our character.
Well said, Lisa. It's an ancient practice with incredibly relevant wisdom for modern life. It encourages us to shed the trivial and embrace the essential, living each day with purpose and a profound appreciation for the gift of life itself.
It truly makes you want to make the most of every day.
And that's the power of memento mori. Next, we'll explore ataraxia, the Stoic pursuit of tranquility. Welcome back to Think Like a Stoic. Last time, we explored memento mori, the profound practice of confronting our mortality. Today, we're building on that by diving into a core Stoic ideal, ataraxia.
Ataraxia. It sounds so peaceful, Alex. Can you break that down for us? What exactly is this Stoic pursuit of tranquility?
Absolutely, Lisa. Ataraxia is a Greek word that translates to a state of profound inner peace, a deep and unshakable tranquility. It's not just about being calm when things are going well. It's about maintaining that calm and sereneness regardless of what life throws at you. Think of it as an unstormable inner sea.
An unstormable inner sea. I like that. So it's not about avoiding problems, but about changing our internal reaction to them?
Precisely. The Stoics understood that we can't always control external events, like the weather, other people's opinions, or unexpected setbacks. What we can control is our judgment, our interpretation, and our response to those events. Ataraxia is the result of mastering this internal landscape.
And how do the Stoics propose we achieve this state? Are there specific techniques or ways of thinking we should adopt?
There are several key pillars. One of the most important, which we've touched upon before, is understanding the dichotomy of control. Remember Epictetus's lesson. Some things are within our power, and some are not. Our thoughts, our desires, our aversions, those are within our power. External events, our reputation, our possessions, those are not. Ataraxia comes from focusing our energy solely on what we can control and accepting what we cannot.
So, essentially, stop worrying about the things outside our influence. It sounds simple, but I imagine it's quite challenging in practice.
It is. It requires constant vigilance and practice. Another crucial element is what we call virtue. For the Stoics, virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance is the only true good. External things like wealth, health, or reputation are indifferent. When we align our actions with virtue, we find a deep sense of satisfaction and inner peace that can't be taken away by external circumstances. A virtuous person is less likely to be agitated by loss or misfortune because their sense of worth comes from within, from their character.
That ties back to our discussion from earlier in the series, doesn't it? Knowing that virtue is the only good helps anchor us when the tides of fortune change.
Exactly. And remember Marcus Aurelius's meditations? He constantly reminded himself to focus on the present moment and to act with reason and justice. This practice of mindfulness, in a Stoic sense, is vital. By being fully present, we avoid dwelling on past regrets or future anxieties, both of which are major disturbances to tranquility.
So it's about present focus, virtuous action, and understanding what we can and cannot control. What else contributes to this inner peace?
Acceptance. And this is where our previous discussion on memento mori and amor fati, loving your fate, really comes into play. If we can accept that everything that happens for a reason within the grand scheme of the universe, and that it's not personal, then we can move toward serenity. Amor fati isn't about passive resignation. It's about actively embracing whatever happens as necessary and even beneficial for our growth, for our understanding, or for the greater good.
That's a powerful perspective shift. Instead of fighting against what is, we embrace it. It sounds like a way to disarm potential sources of distress before they even take root.
Precisely. By viewing challenges not as misfortunes, but as opportunities to practice virtue and build resilience, we neutralize their sting. Think of a strong oak tree. The wind buffets it, storms rage, but its roots are deep and it stands firm. We can cultivate that same inner strength. This doesn't mean we become emotionless robots. The Stoics acknowledged emotions, but they sought to manage them, to ensure they were guided by reason and not by irrational impulses. They aimed to overcome destructive emotions like excessive fear, anger, or grief.
So, ataraxia isn't the absence of feelings, but the absence of disturbing feelings. It's a stable, rational emotional state.
That's a great way to put it, Lisa. It's about achieving a state where external events don't hijack our inner peace. It's a practice skill, not an innate talent. It involves self-reflection, journaling, like Marcus Aurelius did, and constantly questioning our own judgments. When you feel agitated, ask yourself, is this situation truly bad, or am I judging it as bad? Have I focused on what is within my control? Am I acting virtuously?
It sounds like a lifelong journey, but one that leads to a truly fulfilling and peaceful existence. It's about creating an inner citadel that no external force can breach.
That's the ultimate goal. Ataraxia is the calm at the center of the storm, the quiet in the midst of chaos. It's the enduring tranquility that comes from living a life aligned with reason, virtue, and acceptance. It's not about being passive, but about being powerful in our own minds, independent of fortune's whims.
So, in summary, to pursue ataraxia, we focus on the dichotomy of control, prioritize virtue as the sole good, practice present moment awareness, and embrace acceptance, even to the point of loving our fate. This helps us manage destructive emotions and build an unshakable inner peace.
Exactly. And it's a journey that prepares us beautifully for our final episode, where we'll bring all these threads together into a holistic Stoic approach to life. We've covered a lot of ground, from understanding our perceptions to confronting mortality, and now we're aiming for that deep, enduring calm.
It's exciting to think about how all these principles combine.
In our next discussion, we'll synthesize everything we've learned into a practical guide for living the Stoic life. We'll explore how to integrate these ancient wisdoms into your everyday actions and create your own path forward. Welcome back, everyone, to the final episode of Think Like a Stoic. Over the past episodes, we've delved deep into the practical wisdom of this ancient philosophy.
It really has been a journey, Alex. We started by understanding that our philosophy is about living a good life, right here and now.
Exactly, Lisa. And central to that was the profound concept of the dichotomy of control, a cornerstone of Stoic thought. Remember, we emphasize that true freedom comes from focusing our energy only on what we can influence. Our own thoughts, our actions, our judgments. Everything else, from other people's opinions to external events, is beyond our direct control.
That was such a powerful idea. It's like learning to distinguish between what you can change and what you must accept. And out of that grew the importance of virtue as the only true good.
Precisely. Virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance became our compass. We learned that external things like wealth, health, or reputation are indifferent. They don't inherently make us good or bad. Our character, our virtuous actions, are what truly matter.
And to live virtuously, we needed to understand how to manage our inner landscape. We talked a lot about taming the inner storm, right? Stoic emotional regulation.
We did. We explored how our judgments cause our emotions, not the events themselves. By changing our perspective, by challenging irrational thoughts, we can prevent destructive emotions like anger or fear from taking hold. It's about emotional resilience, not suppression.
We also spent time with the great Stoics themselves, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Their writings are like a direct line to ancient strategies for living.
Marcus Aurelius, with his meditations, showed us the power of self-reflection as a philosopher king facing immense pressure. Seneca taught us how to view hardship not as a setback, but as an opportunity for growth, a chance to exercise our virtues. And Epictetus's Enchiridion, his handbook, provided practical, actionable steps for achieving inner freedom.
From mastering our time and becoming more productive, to navigating difficult people with grace and diplomacy, Stoicism offers practical tools for every aspect of life. You made it clear that Stoicism isn't about being emotionless, but about responding to life's challenges with reason and strength.
Absolutely. We saw how Stoicism builds an unbreakable spirit, equipping us with resilience in the face of adversity. Conquering fear and anxiety became a tangible goal through Stoic practices by understanding their irrational roots.
And then there was a more fatty, loving your fate. Marcus Aurelius's idea of embracing whatever happens, seeing it as necessary and even beneficial for our development.
That's a tough one, but so liberating when you grasp it. We then applied these principles to work and relationships, showing how Stoicism can foster purpose, harmony, and deeper connections. The wisdom of choice, the Stoic approach to decision-making, helps us align our actions with our values.
And perhaps one of the most profound lessons was memento mori, remembering our mortality. It's a stark reminder, but it serves to make us appreciate the present and live more fully, without procrastination.
It cuts through the noise and helps us focus on what truly matters. And that brings us to the ultimate aim for many seekers of Stoic wisdom, ataraxia, that state of profound tranquility and inner peace, free from disturbance.
So, after all these discussions, the question is, how do we continue this journey? How do we truly live the Stoic life?
That, Lisa, is the synthesis. Stoicism isn't a destination. It's a continuous practice. It's about making conscious choices every day to align your actions with virtue, to focus on what you control, and to accept what you don't. Think of it as a mental gym. You don't go once and expect to be fit. You go regularly.
So, in practice, that means starting each day by reminding ourselves of the dichotomy of control. Before reacting to something, ask, is this within my power? If yes, act with wisdom and justice. If no, accept it with equanimity.
Precisely. And when faced with challenges, be it a difficult task at work, a conflict in a relationship, or a personal setback, recall Seneca's words. This is an opportunity to practice your virtues. This hardship can make you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate.
It's about reframing our perceptions. Instead of saying, this is terrible, we can try, this is challenging, but how can I use this to grow?
Exactly. And for those moments when anxiety creeps in, remember Epictetus. Focus on your present actions and your intentions. The future is uncertain. The past is gone. Your power lies in this moment, in your deliberate choice to act virtuously.
And when we think about our mortality, memento mori, it's not to be morbid, but to infuse our lives with urgency and appreciation. It's a prompt to live deliberately, to express love, to pursue our goals, and to contribute meaningfully today.
So, your path forward with Stoicism involves consistent practice, self-reflection, and the courage to apply these principles even when it's difficult. It's about cultivating inner resilience, wisdom, and a deep sense of peace that is independent of external circumstances.
It's a toolkit for navigating the complexities of life with greater clarity, purpose, and inner strength. The beauty of Stoicism is its practicality. It's a philosophy you can live.
By consistently focusing on virtue, managing your perceptions, and accepting what you cannot control, you can build a life of meaning and tranquility. This has been our exploration on Think Like a Stoic. We've covered the foundational principles, the practical applications, and the wisdom of the great Stoic thinkers.
It's been an honor to share this journey with all of you. From understanding our power over our judgments to learning to love our fate, Stoicism offers a timeless path to a more resilient and fulfilling life.
Thank you for joining us throughout this series. We hope you found these insights valuable and that you continue to integrate Stoic wisdom into your daily life. Thanks for listening to the series.